Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible Equinety stories and how Equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to this week's Equinety Podcast. It's a great one. We are swinging up into Illinois. We've got Mia Totten, who's 9 years old, a force to be reckoned with, and her dad, Ty. So Mia and Ty, welcome to the Equinety Podcast.
Thank you so much. We're super excited to share our story and can't wait to share it with everybody.
Good deal. And Mia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. So you're 9 years old. How long have you been riding horses?
I've been riding horses since before I could walk, and I have been rodeoing for about 3 years. Good
night. Now, I think it would be important for all the listeners, and maybe Ty, you can help us out here. Give us the all of the accomplishments and where Mia sits in the standings of these things these days.
Of course. Mia currently is sitting second in the National Little Britches Association Little Wranglers Rookie of the Year. She is currently sitting 14th in Goat Tail Untie. She is the Midwest Youth Rodeo Association back-to-back all-around cowgirl. For Indiana Junior Rodeo this past weekend, she finished first in flags overall, year-end champion in flags, reserve champion in Goat Tail Untie, reserve champion in barrels, and third in poles.
Good night. I don't think all that could fit on a business card.
And reserve champion.
Yep, and reserve all-around champion. That is correct.
Don't forget that one, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite a few accomplishments there, Mia. Congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
That's pretty impressive. So, when you go to an event, you're pretty busy. It sounds like.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably have people that when they find out you're going to these events, they're like, "Oh no, please, not Mia." Is that kind of what the atmosphere is like out there?
Probably.
Probably.
She's definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, no doubt. That is awesome. So, all right, well, we're going to be talking about a couple different horses, Hammer and Yachty. So give us the lowdown on these, and why don't we do it in this format where, how long, first of all, how long have you been using the Equinety products?
3 months.
3 months. Okay. So maybe talk a little bit about some of the challenges you were having prior to using the product, and then how you found out about the product, and then how the horses are doing since you've been using the product. So it'll be kind of a before and after comparison.
Okay. Well, before we started using Equinety, Yachty's cocks were really bad, and they would get really sore, and we'd have to give him a bunch of shots. And Hammer's joints were pretty bad. He wouldn't run as hard, and Hammer's coat wasn't as shiny, and his mane was pretty dainty and really thin. And Yachty's tail wasn't as long and shiny, and his coat wasn't as long and shiny. And if we went to a 2-day rodeo or a 3-day rodeo, the next day they wouldn't run out in the pasture and buck and kick, or they would pretty much just walk right out there. And then we found Equinety because my grandpa told my dad about it, and so then we started looking into it, and then we got it. And Yachty's cocks started to look better. He didn't have as much infections and needed as many shots. And the Hammer, he had a lot more energy. His coat's a lot more shiny. His mane's thicker, longer. Yachty's tail is dragging the ground now, and we'll go to a 2-day or 3-day rodeo, and we'll come back, and the next day my dad will turn him out in the pasture, and now we'll go out bucking and kicking.
That is pretty impressive. Which really goes along with a lot of the feedback that we've been receiving through the years, just the overall body composition, the recovery time, they look better, they feel better. Can you tell a difference when you're riding? Do they feel better under saddle?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They feel a lot more energized.
That's awesome. Now
I can definitely see it whenever Mia's competing, especially on that second day. Her old horse, Hammer's 31 years old. So
good night.
For a 31-year-old to keep on being competitive as Mia and he is pretty amazing in its own right. But now since we're on this Equinety, it's just amazing how much more energized he feels. He's running harder. He looks great. You couldn't tell he's 31 years old. And also with Yachty, whenever I go to rodeos on him, and I team rope on him as well as Mia running barrels and poles, he's just so much quicker to the point. He'll last longer in the arena. I can run a couple more runs than what I would do before. So he's a lot more in shape. He's a lot more
focused on the barrels and poles. He's
right.
Not looking off at the banners or the people.
Right. Now, you had mentioned you don't have to inject as often. How often were you having to do that prior to using the product?
Every 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd give his uppers and lower hocks on Yachty would have to get injected every 6 months. And now once we've started Equinety, I haven't injected them for over a year.
Oh, that's impressive. And that's one of the things that we hear quite often now, every now and then, and it all depends on the severity of what's going on in the joints. But a lot of these performance horses that are regularly injected, we get a lot of feedback that once they begin using the product, they don't have to inject as often, and sometimes not at all. You know, it all just depends on the severity of what's going on in there. So now,
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, going back to Hammer being 31 years old, was he, prior to using the product, was he looking his age? And then does it look like he's gotten younger? What's that visual look like?
He's definitely looks younger. He's feeling a whole lot younger for sure.
Yeah.
You got to watch out on the Mondays and Tuesdays after the rodeo. He may run by you and act like he may want to kick you now instead of kind of just sauntering out there.
One time I went out to catch him in the pasture, and he just bolted off and started kicking.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, now I think it's important, too, for those tuning in that are possibly worried that, like, they don't want their horse to be hot. Would you classify him being hot or just feeling better?
He is feeling a whole lot better. Neither horse is hot now. They were never hot before, but once we start using Equinety, it doesn't make them hot, really on the muscle or anything like that. They're still nice and quiet and relaxed. They know what their job is, and they're more focused towards their job. So definitely a lot better.
Sure. So it must be pretty awesome being a dad and being able to take your young girl all over the country doing these types of things. That must be pretty awesome.
It is very awesome, very rewarding. I wish I had the same opportunity that she's getting whenever I was little, but I'm living not only my dream, but her dream together as a family and everything. So it is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mia, when you go to these events, give us a visual, like what do you show up like on a Thursday, Friday? Give us kind of an overview of what the weekend looks like for you.
Well, since we got our bigger horse trailer, we usually go over Friday night, and we get there about Friday night it depends on where we're going, but normally about 5 to 7 o'clock is when we will normally get there, and then we will probably either go out to eat or go to the trailer and eat, and then we'll play with all of our friends that are there, and then about like 10 o'clock is what it's usually been. We go to bed in our trailer, and then it depends on when the rodeo starts, but normally about 8 to 9, I get up and I ride my horses to get them ready for the rodeo that day on the Saturday. And then we'll rodeo all day, and then whenever the rodeo gets over, we'll go back to the trailer, either eat out or eat at the trailer. If we ate out the day before, then we'll probably eat at the trailer, and then go play with our friends again, and then do the same thing for the next day.
That is awesome. And then how many events are you running typically during the day?
Typically about 4. And sometimes I add an extra one, but when we go to the Little Britches rodeos, only 4, because those are the only 4 I can do. And then sometimes I add a 5th one if I'm going to like the Indiana Junior Rodeo. I might do like dummy calf sled or breakaway.
Nice. Now, did we hear this correctly? You were ranked number 2 in the Little Britches?
Uh-huh.
Wow, that's impressive. Now, how many other competitors are there in this crowd?
Usually anywhere, depending on where we're going. Like this weekend in Tennessee, we have 15 in her division.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends where we're going. The biggest is usually Indiana. We'll get around 24 kids to 25 kids. Illinois usually gets about 15 to 20 kids. Missouri gets about 15 to 20 kids as well. So we just kind of, there's a wide range for sure.
About how many are probably in the entire organization, around the country?
Oh, wow. Little Britches is getting huge. I really don't know that answer. There's contestants. The number 1 contestant in the world right now is from Utah. Then Mia sitting second here in Illinois.
There's Arkansas, Louisiana, Indiana. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it's all over. So I'm guessing like whenever we leave for nationals here in a few weeks, she'll be competing against about 300 kids in her division.
Wow. Well, I guess it doesn't matter how many's in the overall group. I mean, you're sitting number 2, so we got to get up to number 1.
Yeah.
So, and you're also Wrangler Rookie of the Year. Tell us what that was like when you received that honor.
Well, that's what she's running for right now.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Is in the Little Britches. Her division's called Little Wrangler.
Okay. So
that's where she's sitting second at currently.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I got to keep me straight here. I'm jumping the gun. I'm already forecasting. So awesome. Well, I tell you what, this is quite impressive. I know for those that are tuning in, let me give you a little bit of an overview of what this Equinety product is in case you're looking to help your horse's performance or just overall well-being. The Equinety Horse Excel is 100% pure amino acids. There's no fillers, no sugars, no starches, and there's no loading dose. So one little tiny scoop, which is about like a teaspoon right on top of their feed. And what the product is specifically designed to do is give the body what it needs to help release its own repairing hormones. And then the body can send its own repairing hormones to its own problem areas. And that's why it works in so many ways, as Mia brilliantly described all the benefits from the hooves and recovery and tail growth and mane growth and shiny coat and all of these different things. Just one little tiny scoop can do all that. So one of the great things, too, is it also begins working within a couple hours, and the vast majority of people notice changes in 30 days or less. So about how long were you using it before you started noticing results yourselves?
I would say about a week, if not less.
Yeah, because one day after we had been feeding it, I walked in to Hammer's stall and I asked Dad if he had put any of the main stuff that we use to help their manes grow, and he said no. And so then I was surprised, and I realized that it was actually the Equinety that was doing it.
That's pretty awesome. So he just feels young as ever then at 31.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Now, what events specifically are you using him for?
Go on, tail untie, and flag racing.
Wow. That is pretty sweet. And then Yachty you're using for?
Barrels and poles.
Barrels and poles. And then Dad's using him roping.
Yep, I'll use Yachty and the team roping. I head off Yachty, so.
Wow. They're probably grateful for feeling so good now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. One problem we were noticing with Yachty whenever we'd take him somewhere, like he wouldn't drink the water very well. So we put him on the OEC, and now anytime we go anywhere, I mean, he's still drinking a lot better than he did before, staying hydrated, which is great. So I don't have that problem with putting electrolytes in him a few days before the rodeos. I have confidence in the Equinety products to make our horses feel great and keep them healthy and keep them firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, that's great. Now, you mentioned the OEC, so I'll tell everybody a little bit about that. That's our second product, which is called Equinety Ultimate OEC. And what that is, it's a flaxseed-based omega-3 oil. It's got 1,000 IUs of natural vitamin E and colloidal silver all-in-one. So we brought that out with the help of Dr. Zach Brugan out of Arkansas, and specifically to work in combination with the amino acids. So the Equinety Horse Excel, that's your foundation of giving the horse what it needs to help repair at the cellular level. The Ultimate OEC gives those repaired cells some nourishment, which helps them operate at optimal levels. And then it also serves as a really powerful antioxidant, which helps reduce inflammation. So I know we've had quite a bit of feedback with horses that didn't want to drink so much when they were being hauled, and when they add both of these products, it really helps with the, keeping them hydrated. And, not to mention all the other benefits. I mean, not having to give injections as often, that's saving, some good money. And then maybe not having to use some other things, for example, trying to get the mane to grow or shiny coats and, all this, these two products do so much in all of these areas. So, well, what are some of your future plans coming up? I know you had mentioned you've got something coming up here in a couple weeks.
Here in a couple weeks, I'm going to go to Oklahoma for the National Little Britches Finals, and that is a week in Oklahoma. And then if you make it to the short round, then it's a few more days or like 3 more days. I don't really know how many days exactly. And in Oklahoma, my grandma and grandpa, Mimi and Pa, are going to come up, and my grandma are going to all come up, and they are going to come and watch me rodeo.
Nice.
And then after we're done with the Little Britches Finals, I don't know if I'm going to sign up for Little Britches again. I want to. I don't know if I'm going to. I'm going to start doing breakaway, barrels, goat tying, and trail class. And I might be getting another horse for breakaway. I don't know yet, because it depends if Hammer can still keep up with the cows. Sometimes the cows outrun him.
Yeah. Well, you're sure putting him to the test, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the question I have is, how long did Grandpa Tom have the product before he told you about it? Because he's been using it for quite a while.
I have no idea.
Maybe he was trying to hold out on you.
He's had it for quite a while, for sure. He uses it on all his halter horses, and I really don't know how long he had it before he actually told us about it. So
that's going to be Tom and I's secret.
Yeah, it's definitely a secret. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that he spilled the beans, because it seems like it's working really well for you guys out there.
It is doing tremendous stuff for us. It really opened the doors of opportunities for Mia, and not making us buy another horse, because like she said, Hammer's 31 and he has a lot in the tank, but that tank's getting thinner by the day. So
yeah, no doubt.
Helping with the Equinety, that keeps that tank at optimal levels at his age.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Mia, a last question for you, for anybody that's tuning into the podcast and have heard your experience with the product, and they might just be sitting on the fence, not quite sure if they should really try it because maybe it sounds too good to be true. is there anything that you would have to say to them to get them off the fence to try the product?
It is not too good to be true. It really works.
Couldn't be better said myself there. So, awesome. Well, Mia Totten and Dad Ty, thank you so much for taking the time to share your stories here on the Equinety Podcast.
Thank you, John. We really appreciate everything you've done and given us this opportunity.
Absolutely. Mia, would you like to say anything before we sign off?
Thank you for letting us tell our story.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horse's supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.